Okay, so we have a new episode of Legends and Leaders, and today it's great to have Justin here. Justin, you've been a pioneer of a space that has been breaking out for some time, and you've created this drink. It's a beverage that is around the enjoyment of alcohol, but not necessarily having the bad, experiences with alcohol, and kind of giving you that feeling, but doing it different. And you've been doing this through a cannabis infused beverage, and now it's a space that's becoming more accepted in different areas. And you've been trying to really bring it to the masses. So I'm excited to have you here and to get into your story.
Thanks for having me on, man. Really appreciate it and happy to be here.
Awesome. So just kind of going back to the beginning and your foundations, like what made you want to be an entrepreneur? How did your interest in entrepreneurship begin? And also, why did you choose the space you're in now?
Yeah, so I was one of those lucky people that was blessed to grow up around entrepreneurs. In our family household, it wasn't, what job do you want to have one day? The conversation was always around like, what idea do you have? And, how are you going to do that? And it was kind of cool from a young age to be able to see that and just kind of grow up in that environment. So for me, coming out of college, I really had my sights set on launching a business and getting into entrepreneurship. And I was really lucky around that time. The launch of the recreational cannabis market in California is around 2017 was taking place at the same time. And I was able to take a lot of the pre-existing knowledge that I had from my family being in the packaging industry for over 40 years and launch a company that was focused on developing child resistant packaging solutions for the cannabis industry. So that gave me a really early look into what was great about the cannabis industry and areas that I thought could be improved. And the big thing that I noticed was that all the products and the companies we were creating packaging for, I felt like we're targeting a certain type of market, which was kind of high dose cannabis products for people that were comfortable with THC and that had a high tolerance. And I was someone who has never smoked a joint in my life, even to this day,
Hmm.
and was kind of afraid to try those products because I've heard people having so many negative experiences with THC. So that's where I kind of set out to create a product that was developed for somebody that had a low THC tolerance that wanted to get into the market, but it was built for more of the mass market appeal and somebody that wanted to just dip their toe in, so to speak.
So you weren't one of these people in that space beforehand. That's kind of funny.
Yeah. It was like my family always said, they're like, you are the last person on earth we would have ever thought would have launched a THC infused beverage. So nowadays was really developed for someone who's never tried THC before, who wants to enter the market, have a great experience with something very low dose, very safe, very effective. And it was designed for myself because I was that person that never tried THC. And now I consume our product daily and love it.
Uh-huh. So you built a different business before this. Um, what was that kind of like, and how did that set you up for what you're doing now? Like, do you feel like you're a way better operator because you had that experience? And I mean, were there certain skills you learned that have been crucial to what you're doing today?
For sure. Yeah, I think you see a lot of those memes all the time of like first time founder and their hair's all messy and all, all over the place. They look like a disaster. And second time founder, the world could be falling on top of you and you're just like cruising through it, feeling good. That definitely was the case with me. I think I learned a lot with my first venture. I learned how to lead people. I learned how to, get the right people on my team, what products are needed in the operation to be successful. That company is still around today and is a super successful business. And I was super blessed to kind of earn my chops as a co-founder there. But it did set me up for success when I went in it nowadays because I knew I didn't go into it thinking we're going to be an overnight success and things are easy. I went into it knowing that if you're starting a business, you're signing up for a journey, and it's really about being committed to what you're doing. And it's helped me to kind of accelerate nowadays growth and success because I knew the things early on that we needed to do to get where we want to go.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely sure it was, I'm sure it set you up for a lot more success just having that experience. And like you're mentioning, and I mean, it's probably great to be where you are now with that before you, and kind of just trying so many different things. Specifically with this
100%.
idea, Justin, like, what made you land on this idea? Why the beverage space? I mean, you could have maybe tried some other spaces. Why was the beverage space the area that made sense?
Yeah. So basically, what happened was I was at a friend's party And somebody asked me, because people were always interested in the cannabis industry because I had worked in it, and basically said like, hey, where should I invest in the cannabis industry? Like somebody just randomly asked that. And my response was just off the top of my head, if you can invest in the beverage sector, that's going to be the future, whoever figures out how to do it. And that was before cannabis beverages existed. It was super early on. And my best friend at the time had overheard that, and he literally called my cell at midnight. And I was asleep next to my wife. I don't know why I picked up the phone. And I pick it up. I'm like, hey, man, is everything all right? Like, are you okay? And he literally goes, if you think beverages are going to be the biggest thing in the cannabis market, why are you sitting there not doing anything about it? And I was like, I'll call you in the morning. And I did not sleep the rest of the night. I called him at like 6 a.m. And I was like, you're right. Like, we need to figure this out. And so my co-founder actually kind of spurred the initial idea for us to start to develop something. And what we noticed was kind of all the people trying to develop beverages were focused on developing RTDs, or like 8 to 12 ounce cans. Because you can imagine taking a weedy smell and making that taste good is a very, very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
So we decided to make the job even harder. And basically we said like the biggest segment of the alcohol industry is spirits. And so can we develop basically the next vodka tequila of the cannabis industry? And packing the taste of weed into 1.5 ounces of liquid is a lot harder to do than into 8 to 12 ounces. And so that kind of started a journey that took us about a year and a half just to make a good tasting product.
Mhm.
And that was kind of the journey of like from idea to pet project to like actually getting the product developed. And then that is kind of what got us this finished product, which is the bottle that you see here.
So was it hard to get people to kind of help you with this initially? I mean, you started this before the trend is as popular now. I mean, was that one of the problems too you had?
For sure. So when we started, we would go to whether it was formulators to help make us flavor our beverage or distributors to talk to them about the market. And we basically were like, hey, we're going to make weed into a drink, right? And you could imagine they looked at us like, have you kids lost your like marbles? Like that sounds insane. So for us, it was really about like seeing the vision of where we wanted to go before anybody else would believe in it or see it. And we were lucky enough to find a formulator and a manufacturer who saw past the fact that maybe we were a little crazy and helped us kind of develop our initial product. That ended up taking a lot of time. And the great thing is, like those initial partners that we had from the early days are some of our biggest suppliers today. We buy a ton of ingredients from the formulator. The manufacturer actually converted all their vodka production lines just to produce our product. And also piggybacking on that, when we wanted to launch, we initially wanted to launch with partnering with alcohol distributors. But you can imagine that's a very large market and a large segment. And it
Hmm.
was very difficult to convince them to take a flyer on this crazy product idea. So that's where we initially ended up pivoting and launching direct to consumer and utilizing that as kind of a launching pad and a way to get data to show distributors that people do want these products.
Hmm. So launching direct to consumer, I mean, there's still limitations social media wise. I think it's only been recently certain types of brands in this category can even advertise on social media. Content, there's probably been restrictions. I mean, it seems like uphill battle every step of the way here. How did you do the D2C launch, and then what did it take to go from there, Justin, to actually get this into retail and get retail to be okay with it?
Yeah, so the great thing about nowadays, and I think the beauty of our business, is that we are built on the back of organic marketing. So we knew going into it that paid channels are going to be very limited due to the type of product we're selling. So we really focused on launching kind of organic TikTok, organic Meta, and just putting our product out there in a way that resonates with consumers. So, for example, try this gardening beverage, or this is a nice lift that you're going to enjoy from this new non alcoholic beverage. And letting consumers who are smart, who are interested in the product, click through and then be more educated on what we're actually talking about. So when we first launched, we had the benefit of going viral on TikTok. We gained kind of a huge customer list and a huge amount of organic engagement. And from there, our purchasing really skyrocketed from our business. We were able to then take that data to distributors and say, all right, you thought we were crazy, But now look at this data. Look how many people are buying these products from us and consistently repeat buying. If we can put this into retail, you're going to see the exact same results. So we really use like the proof in the pudding to go to these distributors and say, hey, now that this isn't just an idea, it's a proven product. And that was enough to get their buy-in and faith. So we've rolled out to over 5,000 restaurants, liquor stores, bars across the United States at this point. And the alcohol distribution model has been kind of the most successful route to market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the numbers of last year were incredible. I think I saw over 200,000 bottles you went up selling.
Yeah,
I mean that's
yeah,
great.
it's pretty crazy. It's
Yeah,
definitely mind blowing from an idea on a couch to that many people wanting to buy your product. So it's been really awesome to see and be a part of.
yeah, it's amazing. Um, so when you look at like just where you're at on a growth trajectory standpoint, you've been able to really do great with D2C, with organic, with retail. I mean, there's only certain countries I think you can probably expand to at this point. What does expansion look like? I mean, does this look like different products more kind of going around that route? I mean, you seems like people have liked the taste and they like what you've done. There's probably a lot of other beverages or beverage products you could make. Is that something you're considering?
For sure. So I think where we're at in our business is we have our spirit product, which is, that vodka tequila replacement. We launched a canned RTD product to give people that like summertime option, or if they're on the golf course or going to a party with a friend. And now really our focus is just like on widening our distribution coverage
Mhm.
because we're in, over 5,000 stores in the US, but there's over 100,000 stores that are like the tangible market for us to go to, right? So for us, it's versus product expansion. It's going to be on focusing on getting our product in as front as many people as possible. And so that's why we built quite the sales team to go out there and focus on penetrating doors because when you go on the street today, our data shows us if you go up to 10 people and you say, do you know where to go buy a cannabis drink? Only 2 out of 10 of them are going to say, yes, I know that those exist and I know where to
Mhm.
buy them. So there's such a huge market still left to tap for us.
Do you think that, I mean, have you done studies or have just even looked at like the health benefits of this versus like an alcoholic competitor in the category? Is it that much better for people?
Yeah, so at this point in the kind of process, we can only really use the feedback from our customers and like our own personal experience. My personal experience is that this product helps me sleep better. I feel amazing the next day, and it does give me that like social release and kind of like a little bit of the lift of anxiety when you're going into a social scenario. And I think it checks all those boxes of what consumers are looking for. And what we like to say is like we're at the intersection of alcohol and non-alc. Like you have all the way over here you have alcohol, all the way over here you have non-alc. We're that perfect middle where you're still getting that product benefit and that buzz from it, but you're not having to make so much of a sacrifice.
Hmm. And you've been building this with your best friend. I mean, that's quite an
Yeah,
experience too. Sometimes people are
pretty
like,
risky endeavor
yeah, sometimes people are like, don't build with your best friend, kind of keep them out of business. You're like,
for
let's do
sure.
it. That's been really a good experience for you? You guys have been close throughout the whole time.
Yeah, we're super lucky because we were one of those like co-founders, I guess, that before we started something, we were like, hey, we're best friends. We don't want to ruin our friendship over this. And we talked about every little thing from what do you want to do in the business? What are your goals? What do you actually see yourself doing when we get to this point, to this point, to this point? And the nice thing about my co-founder and I is I do everything he doesn't want to do, and he does everything I don't want to do. I'm kind of the front man, and he's the executor on the back end, so to speak. So we've been super lucky, and honestly, like our relationship's gotten better growing this business. And I think it just goes to show for co-founders, like it's almost like a marriage. Like you got to talk about everything before it happens and go to that premarital counseling so that you kind of are prepared for whatever can happen.
Most definitely. It's a good way to describe it. Um, so, I mean, I think you did college and then you've been just building businesses ever since. Did you have
Yep.
like any experience kind of in the traditional world, like corporate world at all? Or did you just like kind of launch businesses outside and now you've just been building this, since that?
Yeah, so when I was in college, I worked a lot of jobs. One of them, I was a busboy at a restaurant called Cheddar's. I don't know if you've ever been there before.
Yeah.
I actually lasted about 8 days. A guy poured a pina colada over my head at the bar, and I went and gave my apron back to my boss and said, "I'm out of here. Catch you later." So I wasn't the best in the workforce, but I definitely, had a couple good experiences there. And then I actually worked in college at my apartment that I lived in. I was selling leases, and that's really like where my first passion came up was for sales. Is like I just got so much joy selling and kind of being amongst people and talking about products. And that experience, even going into nowadays of selling something that never existed before, really, helped us get going.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of like what this space you're in now can kind of be viewed as similar to like the e-cig space of how that was an uphill battle. Then it became accepted. Then all the big brands eventually that made traditional cigarettes bought in, to it. I mean, I think we're kind of in the middle of that trajectory right now. Like, what is your long term vision for this, Justin? Like, do you see yourself, really scaling on, becoming like what some of these other alcohol conglomerates have done, but for a non-alcoholic space? Do you see yourself eventually wanting to be acquired? Like, what's kind of your long-term roadmap?
For sure. So our goal, like right now, is we have like two very simple goals. It's number one is to grow the nowadays brand and awareness in business.
Hmm.
And number two, and equally alongside that, is to create a safe and regulated market for our beverages.
Hmm.
Because the only way that the THC market and nowadays in general is going to reach full potential is if there's clear regulatory framework, there's clear testing, and there's a safe and effective market out there. So that's number one for us. And that's why we partnered with alcohol distributors from the get go, is because they're the absolute best partners to get regulated products to market.
Hmm.
We're not selling our products all over the place. We're selling them in liquor stores where only people that are 21 plus and ID can purchase products. So that's really like our near term goal is build nowadays and build the industry. And then from there, like our long term goal is just how Monster Energy, Celsius were associated with building the energy category. We want to be associated with building and creating the THC category in the US. And as far as like what the future holds for the end game of our business, I think there's so many amazing potentials and outcomes. And like we're just focused on building the next biggest beverage brand in the US, and we'll kind of see where it goes from there. But we definitely have our work cut out for us for the foreseeable future. So we're gonna have our heads down working. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. A lot more to go, but a lot already done, which is awesome to see.
For sure, 100%.
Yeah. So why call it nowadays? What was the significance behind that?
Yeah, so I mean, because you've started companies before, the naming part is probably the hardest and like most contentious part of it because you got everybody who likes a different name and a different thing. So we had about 100 names up on the board, some really good, some were horrible. And we are kind of going through them, my co-founder and I, and we hit nowadays, and it just instantly clicked for us. And what it means is like it's an ode to the future a little bit. Like nowadays, this is what we drink. Like this is just what people do nowadays, right? So
Mm.
it has a little bit of hidden meaning behind it, but I think it also has that like good feeling when you say it and when you see it on the bottle.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I think it's a great name. For it's specifically for the category you're in, like what you just mentioned. It's like this is the trend. This is where we're at. We're building.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
that's awesome. So just like how do you view the building of this? Just as you scale. I mean, there's other countries you could probably enter into and stuff. Is this something you want to build your own factories? You want to kind of work with other places to develop it as you enter them. Is it like how does that kind of the production side of things look?
Yeah, so for us, we grew so fast, so quick. I haven't looked at the data before and I can't verify this statement, but we have to be one of the fastest beverage brands to ever reach $1 million in D2C sales.
Mm.
So for us, it was we needed to partner with people with large manufacturing capabilities quick because there was no way that we could possibly go and build a factory in the amount of time we needed to service our products. So for us, it's really about partnering with best in class partners who have all the quality control procedures in place so that we can go and focus on what really needs to be done, which is building the product, the brand, and the industry. And so for us, we're constantly evaluating who are the best partners and who are the best people to kind of work on to scale and sell our products. And then the US is going to be the main focus for us over the next 5 years because there's just so much market potential. Anybody that's ever had a glass of wine, a beer, or on the flip side, who's ever had an edible or smoked a joint is a target market for us.
Mhm.
And the up and coming consumers of 21 to call it 28 years old are highly interested in these products. So there's a good kind of long term potential of acquiring those customers.
Yeah, I mean, also the pristine nature of your brand, I think, is more attractive than some of these other options.
For sure. And that's by design. So when we went to build nowadays, what we wanted to feel was you could bring this to your friend's house, you could bring it to your grandma's, you could bring it to a college party, and people aren't going to look at you and go, "Oh man, the stoner's here with the cannabis product," right? We wanted it to feel like a mass market product that could sit on the shelves of Whole Foods and Target. And so for us, it's really about tapping into the market that hasn't necessarily been tapped into in the industry, which is the mass market. And
Mhm.
the product design is one of the main features behind that.
Do you see THC becoming something that is as commonplace as alcohol, like THC beverages and things like what you're building? Is that something you think is going to become possible? Maybe, and how long do you think it will take for something like that to be possible if it is?
I do think that in 5 years from now, it'll be as common in a restaurant, a bar, a liquor store, a convenience store to go and purchase a THC beverage as it is to go purchase a soda, an alcoholic beverage, an energy drink. The data that we're seeing and how fast this category is moving is astounding. And so I do think, if we're able to get the regulatory side of the industry where it needs to be, then the sky is the absolute limit. And I think this is the next biggest segment that we're going to see in a generation when it comes to the beverage category.
Wow. Yeah, that would be a big change. A big change.
Yeah, for sure. And we're betting big on it. You better believe that. So we're super excited about the potential. And the great thing is we're leading by example. We're IDing our customers. We're testing our products. We're doing everything ahead of where we think the regulations are going to be, so that we can kind of set the example of where we think an industry like ours should be. And it's truly incredible to see how many people love these products and just the positive feedback that we get on a daily basis.
Mhm. Yeah. Just the last question that I have. In order to get these kind of this next big jump in people into this, if you had to break down like the couple just different points you think it will take to go and get this to the average person who's drinking alcohol that maybe has been against cannabis, not into THC, any of that, what are a couple points that need to kind of get to that area?
For sure. So I think number one is you need the product to appeal to the masses. So I think we're checking that box because it feels like something you'd be proud to have on your bar cart and somebody comes into your house and sees it. And then I think number two is opening up as many possible channels as we can from a distribution standpoint and a retail standpoint, because to get that standard consumer to purchase it, it needs to be right in front of their face and it needs to be very easily grabbed off the shelf. And then I think the last and third piece is the education component. When it's sitting on the shelf, it needs to be very clear to that customer, what is it? How do I use it? And what's the best way for me to kind of go about that? So I think like mass market product, lots of distribution, and then a lot of education. And I think those are the three check boxes. So we spend a lot of our time on kind of number two and number three to make sure we're hitting those points.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Justin, I appreciate you taking the time and doing this. I think you've made a lot of progress. I mean, in this space, and it's a space that has needed to just jump from where it has been previously to have a premium nature and something that's accepted and is as quality as alcohol. And you've definitely done that. And I think you built an amazing brand. So I'm excited to see what's going to come next and how this will expand further.
Appreciate that. Thanks for having me on.